My man, how you doing?
Hey, what's up, man? I think, let's see, turn up my volume. Let's see. Hopefully.
Look at that globe. I love that.
It was, when you like start working and stuff, you're like, this is like, you know, you want one of those in your office.
It's badass. Yeah, I love it.
It's one of those classic, like old school, like, I don't know, Godfather or whatever or something, you just like,
Yes.
you gotta have it. Where are you at? It looks dark where you're at.
This is my office. I do all my podcasts out of here. It's a little different though because, well, if I back out here, it'll quit focusing on me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So in the back, it used to be my bourbon uh closet. I don't know what you would call it.
Hmm.
But I quit drinking bourbon. So now it's got like a Babe Ruth card in it, and I got a Nolan Ryan signed baseball, and I got a bunch of real estate awards and whatever. But my wife, I went on an appointment today. She decorated. I love Christmas,
You love Christmas.
and I've been begging for the tree to go up, and she's like, "You're crazy. It's not going up." So she decorated my whole office
Yes.
today, and so
Oh
it's
my
all
God.
Christmas themed.
Well, I saw you on Facebook. You had your costume on. I totally expected to open up the Zoom and see you in
If
some.
I wasn't with this amazingly professional attorney, I might have, but I thought, man, you better not. I did think about it. I'll say that.
That's great, man. That's great. How's things been with you?
Good. Everybody's happy, healthy. We're busy.
That's awesome.
Things are good, man. How about you?
Excellent, excellent. I can't complain. I was like thinking before I got in there, is like success is being healthy and having a happy family that is healthy as
Yes.
well and loves you. People around you love you, and then everything else is like icing on the cake. So.
You're 100% right. And I'll tell you, when I heard that in my 20s, I thought, it's a cool thing to say, but successful is having a shit ton of money. But then when you start making money, it's like, well, if the money doesn't bring the happiness, really it is the happiness you want.
Right.
And not that money doesn't help, money helps.
Yes,
Health helps big time. It's absolutely the biggest thing.
for
Or I
sure.
should say a lack of health is the biggest killer of it.
Yep.
But yeah, it really, and I know you and I are kind of the same mindset when it comes to growth and Tony Robbins and all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
It's just there's so much more. Look at Tony Robbins. That dude has got to be worth nine figures, and he still works himself to the bone because
Yeah.
he loves it. That's his passion. That's his happiness.
Well, it's funny because oh, the whiteboard's in the way. But like, yeah, it's funny how it all works out or whatever. It's a little cleaner out here. But I went to business mastery in July or August, and he's like, "Oh yeah, now I'm worth $1 billion." I'm like, "Okay, guy."
Really good for him, man. He
So he's
deserves
like,
it.
he's just working it. He's making his life, doing his best life and stuff. So he's doing a great job, like whatever he's doing. But he says he's got like 120 companies. He's doing his thing or whatever. But in the end, like he doesn't have to do what he's doing, but he's still
I
working his
know.
butt off. So
When you think about people on the planet who have positively impacted lives, he's got to be maybe number one, certainly in the top 10.
yeah.
And, that, in my opinion, is the coolest thing you could possibly say about yourself.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Well, I mean, so, and I could spout off Tony Robbins stuff till I'm blue in the face, but he talks about the six human needs: certainty, uncertainty, love and connection, significance. But the two of the spirit are growth and contribution. And yeah, you hit it on the head. I don't think that guy's contributed more to people's like personal development and stuff than
Yeah.
anybody else. It's
Yeah.
pretty crazy. And that's
Yeah.
what you do. And one of the things, and
Oh,
this is the Walker Way. It's our podcast here at the Law Office of Travis Walker. We're happy to talk about legal issues. We'll talk about just about anything actually, but personal development is obviously a huge part of it. And one of the things I appreciate and respect about you so much is the positivity you bring to social media, the message that you give, the personal development stuff. Just putting yourself out there and just being a real person, a real dude. And I think that's huge, and I think people respond to that well. And so, I first off, this is Joe Rosen, Realtor Extraordinaire on this Treasure Coast. He's an amazing guy. a veteran, really done a heck of a job in this community, being a great guy. And just thank you so much for being on the podcast, man.
It's an honor. It's cool to see what you've built, and it's cool to see, you know, everything that you've gotten done in the business, everything you're doing in your personal life. I just, it's weird to say I'm proud to you unless it's your kid, but I'm proud of everything you're doing. It's inspiring. It's fun. It's what you want to see everybody doing in life, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And we also share a little of a connection to Minnesota. But how did you think about what do you think about the World Series, the Dodgers and the Yankees?
Woo! So I don't have a dog in the fight, but I will say Ohtani's year has been ridiculous, right? Did a lot of great things that we've never seen before. I think he was the first 50-50 guy. And I actually put a question on Facebook. I don't remember if it was the third game. I think it was the third game. I don't know if anybody has ever had a better World Series, like a full World Series, than Freddie Freeman. And it was ridiculous. The
Yes.
guy hit a home run, I think, in every single game except that last one. And it was just, he absolutely crushed it for those guys. I will say, though, the Yankees kind of shot themselves in the foot last night. I mean, they had Aaron Judge had an error. The pitcher wasn't covering first base. Yeah, it was pretty wild. I went to bed and it was 5-0.
You're
And I
like,
was like, oh, this is a done deal. We're going
right,
on to the next game.
third
I
game was
wake up at 7-6. Yeah. So yeah, it completely fell apart.
no, no. I mean, as a Minnesota Twins fan, anytime I can see the Yankees leave the series without a trophy or something.
I've seen the Yankees beat the Twins many times in the playoffs. It
Way
sucks.
too many times. Way too many times. So how's the real estate market, man? I mean, are you all up and down the Treasure Coast? Where do you serve?
So when I first got here, I was marketing everywhere. And so then I was selling everywhere, right?
Right.
Now all of our marketing is Port Saint Lucie. I would say Port St. Lucie is probably 80% of what I do. We do pick up a lot just because of, relationships. We pick up a lot in Northern Martin County and Stewart, Jensen Beach and Palm City.
Yeah.
I get a little bit in Fort Pierce, but that's pretty much it. I would say every year, out of those 5 cities I just named, I might sell 3 or 4 outside of those cities every year.
Sure.
But the rest isn't there, which is what you want. You want to stay in a small condensed area,
Yeah. No, yeah, 100%. I mean, it's like a 80-20 rule or something like that. So probably
Yeah.
like 80% of your work's probably in Port St. Lucie or something, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And
That's exactly what I
are you
want.
still in tradition and stuff? Is that your
Yeah,
bailiwick?
I live in Bedford Park and I'm dumb enough to be on the board. That explains the hair, right? And you're not, have you done it before?
No, but I got a brother-in-law who's on his condo board, and he's just like, I'm the F out. It's just
It, yeah, you know, any board,
anymore.
any board, but here there's more politics.
Yes.
You've really got to go in with a servant's heart and you've got to realize nobody cares that you're an unpaid volunteer.
Nope.
And they don't have to. You picked to be on the board. You should do it with a servant's heart.
Yeah.
People are going to yell at you. They're not going to understand why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
And you have to just, if you want to get through the day, you've got to be okay with that. And you've got to just keep thinking, I'm here to serve you. And
Yeah.
that's it.
That's
Yeah.
beautiful. You got the right servant's heart for it. It's just my heart goes out to you because I've been practicing law 17 years, did quite a bit of real estate work, and then first off started closing houses, doing title work, and then doing like HOA like collection type of stuff. And I'm like, man, this is not what I want to be doing in the long
Fun. Yeah.
run.
Yeah, you're
Talking
right.
who could have what in the refrigerator in the clubhouse and all that kind of crap or something.
I know. Anybody watching, I'm 22. I might look 42, but it's just, yeah, it's that. That's what's got me.
Oh my gosh. Well, I mean, so you're like knee deep in real estate, then you're on the HOA boards. Obviously, you've been selling real estate, and you were selling real estate, I think, up in Minnesota before you came down here, right? I mean, you've
6 years. Yeah.
yeah, so you put your time in and stuff, and you've got quite a group too. I mean, like what is your team like? What do you guys do? I mean, how does that look?
So the way we're set up, I love it. They give revenue share to people who grow the business, right? Who bring other people in. So there's a split. It's an 80-20 split. And not all brokerages, but most brokerages are like that. But anybody who makes a sale, you get 80 and the company gets 20 until you hit a certain amount and then you get the rest. Of that 20, this is the first business. And now everybody's copying it, which is great. That's a great thing. They give half of that back to the people who recruited you into the business.
Really?
So now what used to happen is I go find an agent, and number one, I don't even care if you come to our office. So I'm not really helping build our office at all because there's no incentive to me unless you're on my team.
Yeah.
So they've got in place to now we want to build the business. But now we don't just want to get you in because we can get you in, but if you're not selling, then we wasted a bunch of time getting you in. You're not doing anything.
Sure.
So I actually want you to succeed. I want you to go to my training. I want you to go to our role play. I want you to figure out what the different kinds of leads are, what the pros are and cons are of every different type of lead, what are the ROIs, how to track your performance, what kind of performance you should be aiming for.
Wow.
So you're so vested in the performance of the people that you take on. To me, that's one of the most attractive things. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to come here was I knew like most agents aren't looking at, they just want like a Joe Rosen figure who's going to hold them accountable and show them what a CRM is and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
I'm looking for somebody who can help me build a monster organization. So I'm talking to guys, I'll tell you the way I got recruited here, I did not want to be recruited. I
Okay.
had just gotten to Florida. I was at Keller Williams for like 5 months. I've
Uh-huh.
been in Florida for 5 months.
Yeah.
And my buddy had moved from Keller to EXP. And he said, you got to come, you got to come, you got to come. And I said, maybe. And it might be the best decision ever, but I'm so new. Let me just get my business going. Let me get my feet wet. And then we'll talk about it. And he called me 2 months later and he said, hey, I'm going on a vacation with the guys. You love all these guys. We're going to be in Key West, which is my favorite place on the planet. And we've got an oceanside hotel. It's got 3 bedrooms. You can have one of the bedrooms. It's already paid for. You don't need to pay for anything. And we're going to have this huge mastermind. And he started naming all the names. And these are like nationwide monster real estate agents.
Really?
If I remember correctly, there were only like 40, 50 people in that room. And other than like 5 of us that were invited, the lowest sales in that room was like 50 million a year. These were all big dogs.
That's
And I
impressive.
was like, hell yeah, I'm in, let's go. So I went and we go up on this rooftop at night. And this is the first night we got down there. And I said, hey, Joe Rosen with Keller Williams. And they said, hey, Nick Good with eXp Realty. I'm like, okay, cool. And then I go, hey, Joe Rosen with Keller Williams. And oh, Jay Kinder with eXp Realty. And so I went to my buddy and I said, Dean, there's a lot of EXP agents here. He's like, oh, yeah, they're all EXP. This is an EXP event. I'm like, you son of a gun. So I will say out of the 2-day event, there was only 1 hour of pitching EXP. And it wasn't even that did it, honestly. There's a lot of amazing things, stock, revenue share, high splits, low cap. But really the thing that got me was I knew that everybody above me had a financial incentive to recruit me and not just to get me, but you've got to keep working on me. You got to keep giving me the nuggets. I'll execute, but you
Yes.
got to keep giving me the nuggets. So where I've gotten and as quickly as I've gotten there, it would have taken me 2-3 times the amount of time to get there. And I was so blessed to find this, but
Because you got guys investing in you, and they have a vested
big
interest in
time.
you growing. So they got coaches, mentors. So the people who are listening, if they're in the real estate world or something like that, it's just a great place to be, right? Because I mean,
Yeah.
there's a vested interest as opposed to just getting a cut of whatever commission or whatever else.
If you've got the right upline, you've
Right.
got, and I say that with any, there's a phenomenal Keller Williams here, and then you go 20 miles down the street and it's garbage, right? It's not because Keller Williams is amazing or garbage. It's the leadership, the people that you've got in place. And the same is true with EXP.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. No, that's amazing. So I mean, so how many people do you have in your downline?
It was 57. I want to say it's probably 58 now, I think.
Congratulations.
We've always got, yeah. So we've kind of been floating around there. And I think we're in 7 different states. EXP now is all over. We were trying to grow state.
Everywhere. I go
Now
travel.
we're growing countries, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have a guy, he's not my downline, but he's in the downline of the guy above me.
Mhm.
And he helped open the country of Panama. And he had
Wow.
it was super cool. So it's cool to know guys, and he's a Stewart guy, right? He's local.
Really?
It's cool to know guys who are doing such monumental things.
Really moving markets, changing markets, opening markets. That's pretty fantastic.
That's fun.
How's the real estate market here on the Treasure Coast right now? How are you feeling about it?
Man, I'm gonna nerd out now.
Let's do it.
I'm a super nerd. I look at this stuff every single
nerd out
Monday.
with you all day long, man.
What I don't like is reading the news
Mhm.
and then I disagree and I think, okay, either they're wrong, but I should be able to, as a professional, prove that they're wrong,
Sure.
or they're right and my emotions are kicking in, which I'm a professional. I shouldn't have
That
emotions.
mindset. Good job.
Yeah. So I try to look at the data. And so every single Monday we look it up. And that's what our sales meeting looks like is, hey, let's go over. It's part of the sales meeting is let's look at the data. I can tell you that all year I was promoting how much better we were looking than the beginning of the year. Actives have gone up all year. I'm making this up, but I want to say we were around maybe 1100 in January. This is Port Saint Lucie single family homes. We had 1100 and now we're at like 1700. So
Wow.
it's gone up quite a bit. It's 40
You
some
talk about
percent.
inventory?
Yeah, the amount of homes that are on the market available for sale at any given time um has gone up 40 some percent. But all year my pitch to my team was it's okay because sales have also gone up
Sure.
40%. It was matching all year. So the actual inventory rate
Yes.
wasn't moving. In fact, it was getting a little bit better.
Really?
But while actives continue to go up over the last maybe 2 months, sales have kind of dipped down. And yeah, that look that you just gave, that's the look that everybody in my organization gives. And I say, listen, part of that is the election, right? Just uncertainty. They want to wait to see what's going
Always
on
based on certainty.
on both sides. Yeah, they want the certainty of knowing who's in place, and then whatever story they got in their head, they'll move forward. Part of it is we always dip this time of the year too.
Yeah.
And then it comes back maybe January, February. So how much is it, the real estate market as a whole versus the timing? I don't know. I've kind of told my crew, unless it gets really crazy, which it's not getting really crazy. Just kind of wait till the end of January, middle February, somewhere around there. If it's still down, that's a real estate thing. If it's starting to come back up, it was just a seasonal thing. But I will say we break it. We've got three. We've got the overall market, which is about 6 months right now. That's certainly a buyer's market. It's not a crazy buyer's market, but it's a buyer's market. Um,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. I always say 3 to 4 months is kind of neutral. So 6 months it's a buyer's market.
Is that what we're at right now? 3 or 4 months right now for a house on the market, or
In Port St. Lucie for single family homes, it's 6 months.
6 months?
So it's a buyer's market. But
Yeah.
when you look at up to 500 grand, that market's at about 3.5 to 4 months.
Mm.
So that's a much more competitive market. It is neutral. So a
Mhm.
lot of buyers think I'm hearing that the market is soft. I can come in 20, 30 grand under and get it. And maybe on a $700,000 home you can, because I'm about to tell you that market's a little bit rougher.
Yeah.
But on that lower end market, you've got so many people that all they can afford is 350 to 400. That's where 80% of the buyers are coming in at. You got a lot of competition.
Sure.
But once you get over like 550, 600, 650, at least here, it's a little bit different in Martin County.
Sure.
You're looking at starting out at 10 months inventory.
Wow.
And the higher you go, the worse it gets until you get to about 1.2, 1.5. That market is almost always the same. It
Really?
just, yeah, anybody who's got the money to buy something that's
Yeah. Yeah.
1.5,
Yeah.
you, I don't want to say you don't give a damn, but just looking at their habits, that market doesn't change. I just don't think they give a damn as much.
Well, they get that's the pattern, right? So they know that if as people that have affluent who have those type of resources, they probably understand the patterns. They know what the patterns are. They just want what they want, and they're going to get it. They
Yeah.
don't care about the election here, the election there. But that sounds like there's a hole in the donut almost, or something like that, right? Where you got the 500 to a million or so. That's kind of a soft spot right now, where it's
Yeah.
outside your average median income types, but not as affluent as the $1 million plus buyers.
Yeah.
Port St. Lucie, I mean, there's probably there's some Tesoro areas, there's some PGA areas, and that type of thing. The vast, again, 80% is probably going to be like $300 to $500,000 houses or something like that,
Yep.
right?
Spot on.
Yep,
Spot on. I might stretch it a little bit more to 550, but yeah, absolutely.
that's amazing. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's I mean, and so I guess you don't. I mean, maybe like you said, January comes around, things will change a little bit, but that's kind of how you see things playing out.
Yeah, that's my guess. Because I always see August, September kind of starts to come down a little bit.
Yeah,
So it's just not, it looks like every other year, to be honest.
yeah. So I mean, what are your like three key metrics that you're kind of looking for? Like you, the real estate expert, Joe Rosen, you're like, okay, this is my dashboard. These are my three industry metrics I'm looking for. It's the inventory, it's the median price, it's the number of months on the market. Are those the metrics that you're looking at primarily?
Yeah, we track 9 metrics. And I'll go through them because they're all it's quick and easy to go
Yeah, for
through.
sure. I'm sponging it up.
It's how many actives do we have?
Hmm.
And then, oh man, I'm gonna mess this up now. How many actives do we have? How many solds do we have? I'm not gonna get through all 9. How many solds do we have in the last 45 days?
Okay.
And everybody does 30,
Hmm.
but the last 2, 3 days of sales, people haven't entered, like realtors just haven't entered them into the MLS yet.
Sure.
So the further out you go, the less accurate it is because it's not up to date,
Yep.
but also the less impactful those last, 1 to 2 days of not adding sales impacts you. So I
Sure.
like to go to 45 days. So I look at 45-day sales. The median price, oh, that's what the other one is. The median price. So like this is kind of an interesting thing too. Median price right now in Port Saint Lucie is right around 470. That's
Hmm.
asking. But
Ask.
median sales price is right around 420, 425.
Oh,
And
cool.
it's always got that difference, right? And
Yes.
part of that is because people are overpriced. Like if I go into 10, it depends on my relationship too. If it's somebody I got a good relationship with and I say, hey, your home is worth 500, probably 8 out of 10 of them are going to list it at 500. 2 out of 10 are going to want to be at 510, 520, whatever it is.
Right.
But if it's not someone I've got a relationship with, it's either an expired listing, a for sale by owner, a cold lead we paid for it, something like that. If I go into 10 of those appointments and say your home is worth 500, probably 8 of them it's going to be the opposite. 8 of them are going to say we want to be at 525.
You're like, oh,
So well, it depends. It depends on how it shows, how it smells, how the landscaping looks. It depends on a lot of things. But what you find is a weaker agent is going to say sure,
I'll take the freaking listing.
and now you got an overpriced listing sitting there. And a better agent isn't just going to say no. They're going to have a discussion on how it benefits you to be at this market price, how you're not going to waste time. By the time you get down to 500, it's not going to be worth that either because you're market worn. You're going to get 490. But a lot of agents don't have. Last year, I'm about to blow your mind unless you've heard this already.
Hmm.
49% of realtors in the United States sold 0 or 1 home last year.
Are you serious?
Isn't that mind blowing?
Half of them basically didn't work.
Didn't do a damn thing. Yeah. And it's pretty, I mean, I'm a team leader and I'm friends with a lot of the other big team leaders here locally.
Sure.
You kind of see it on your teams as well. I've got
Hmm.
to take in maybe 5 or 6 agents to
Yeah.
get one who's really gonna, have a good first year and maybe stick around for a while. The rest of them, you might get a month or 2 out of them, and then they want and I get it, man. It's an American thing. You want instant gratification. And this is not an instant gratification business. I've got a lot of friends in law. I remember one of them telling me the average income of an attorney. I was like, what? It was low. That's not to say that an attorney like you isn't making a lot of money. It's the same thing with real estate. You're not just an attorney. You
Yeah.
have to sell your services to people, and you can be the best damn attorney on the planet, but if nobody knows about you, they're not going to come to you.
Nope.
Everybody thinks I got to show homes and I got to schmooze people. No, you need to prospect and get on the phones and sell yourself.
Yep.
That's 90% of it. The real estate part's the fun, easy part.
You got to find the leads. Yeah, no, it's amazing. I've been practicing for 17 years. We got 9 attorneys who work here in the office, and a lot of lawyers. I've had a lot of lawyers come and go, but a lot of lawyers that go into law school, they think they don't ever have to sell anything. They just sit down in an office and they, do the legal work and stuff. And there's a place for that and everything, but obviously, clients want to feel heard, respected, understood. They want to have a relationship with the attorney, and so unfortunately, if the ones who do succeed, you have to sell yourself, and it's
Yeah.
wherever it's at. So you nailed the on the head. I talk about legal stuff. I mean, so obviously we're a law firm. It's a legal podcast. I mean, what are some of the like real estate legal issues, or what have you seen pop up recently?
Sure. So I'll talk about a couple of the big ones. Escrow deposits is a pretty big one. Yeah, and there's so many different laws throughout the 50 states.
Mhm.
And we do we're one of the biggest states when it comes to influx of people. We're getting a lot of New Yorkers, a lot of New Jersey folks, which that is a completely different type of real estate.
Yep.
And like that is run by attorneys, whereas here it's primarily run by realtors.
Right.
Completely different. They don't have title closers up there. It's all attorneys. The attorneys do it.
Yep.
And we get a lot of folks from California.
Yep.
That's all together completely different too.
Different too.
And I'll get to the escrow thing, but like in New York, there's no like specific closing date. It's just whenever your attorney and my attorney decide to have lunch together and hammer this thing out, we'll close 2 weeks later.
What a way to get a deal done.
It's crazy to me. Whereas in Florida, you've got a very specific date. And if you don't get it done on that date, you're out of contract. You could risk losing the home, getting sued for specific performance, all kinds of things. So one of the biggest challenges specifically here that I did not face in Minnesota, because we didn't have that influx of people up there. People are trying to get out of there. It's so doggone cold. Was just understanding enough about other states' laws that you can educate people on the differences to set expectations. But with escrow deposits, you've got a lot of contingencies in most contracts. You're going to have an inspection contingency, which usually gives you 5 to 10 days, whatever it is you write in, but it's usually 5 to 10 days. Right. You're going to have a financing contingency. So if you lose your job and that forces you to lose financing, or, obviously somebody dies and now you can't afford it, or you hopefully don't go buy an RV for $100,000. Now you got, your debt to income's through the roof. You could lose your financing. And if you lose your financing, while it sucks to lose the house, you're not going to lose your deposit. So that's good news. But once you get through all those contingencies and you don't have any left, unless the seller's really done something that's brought them out of contract, you're responsible for closing. And if you don't close, you don't have to lose your deposit, but the only way you're not going to lose it is if that seller is nice enough to give it to you. They don't have to. It does blow my mind how nice people are.
Really?
Yes. I've seen a lot. I've
for weeks and months or something like that and everything else.
I've only seen that once. We're usually able to negotiate through it. And in most cases, either the buyer backs down and just gives up their deposit, or they end up splitting it 50-50. Hey, I'll get 50 back, but you get to keep 50. And in all fairness, both sides only see their side. Sure. I'm sure you see that in law too, right?
All the time.
They don't care about your side because I'm a victim.
Yes.
And usually they both are a victim of something, right? The seller's a victim of, I just took my home off the market for 30 to 45 days. I lost out on all the best marketing. Now I'm a market warn listing and I got to go back on and I got to explain that we don't have mold or a roof leak. We just lost our buyer due to financing. Nobody's going to believe us. They're going to think there's red foot. Like it's a problem.
Yeah, I can see where, so like it comes back on the market. You're looking at the MLS. It's like, what's wrong with this house? Oh, the buyer didn't back out. Did the buyer really back out, or you just
yes? And any good listing agent, even if it was a horrible situation, is going to tell you it was the buyer. Buyer's financing every time.
It's everything.
Yeah. So deposits are one of the big things, and I really try to communicate through the entire process. Your deposit is not at risk right now. You got 5 more days on inspection. You can back out for any reason you want.
Right.
But then when that day comes, I'm like, listen, you either back out today and you get your deposit back, or that contingency's closed. Are you comfortable? Yeah, we're comfortable. Okay. Now I've at least shared that with you. And I think it's a big deal to communicate that with people. So
yeah,
escrow deposits is one. Another one is final walkthroughs. When you do a final walkthrough, the home has to be in the same condition or better than it was at the time of offer, plus or minus whatever you agreed to in any inspection negotiations. Okay. So if those inspection items haven't been taken care of, the buyer doesn't have to sign. And the seller's obligated. If they had signed something that said, I would fix the hole in the wall, they don't have a choice. They signed it. They have to fix the hole in the wall. Right. Some people will sign it, and then a week later, they're like, we decided we're not going to fix the hole. That's not your option anymore,
That train is gone.
Yes. It's your option when we present it, but once you sign it, it's game over. It's done. Another issue that we see other than damage is personal property that'll be missing.
Right.
And maybe it was in the contract. So I've seen that a lot where people forget that they had the washer and the dryer in the contract, and all of a sudden the washer and dryer is gone. Drapes is a big one. It says in the contract, drapes got to stay. they'll be on the moving truck halfway to California and there's no way to bring them back. So we're talking credits now. And
Yeah.
the buyer thinks they were $3,000 drapes. The seller says they're $400 drapes.
Oh, shit.
So you've got to remedy that. And the way I have tried to protect my buyers on that is when I'm bringing you through a home and I can see the twinkle in your eye, I'm going to say, hey, it looks like this is a maybe, right? Yeah, this is a maybe. Okay, cool. You keep looking. I'm going to make a video of the whole place. And I pitch it as I'm making I'm making a video for you that you're going to enjoy and you can watch it later tonight to kind of get the layout and everything else. But really, when I get to the final walkthrough and there's a hole in the wall or there's a leak under the sink or, whatever, I want to be able to prove to that listing agent that that was not the case at the time that we did the offer. And I've had that situation pop up with a good friend. We're both good friends with this person, where that happened. There was a hole in the wall. The seller said it was there the whole time. I brought up that video and they instantly backed off. We would have had an issue if I hadn't had that video.
Wow. I mean,
Yeah.
you just know where the problems could lie. I mean, you're like, okay, I see this. This is a maybe issue later on, and thank God for cell phones that have gigs and gigs of just
Yes.
do that. So,
And the definition of personal property is
mm,
so gray.
hmm
It's anything permanently affixed. And I've seen things with screws, they're considered permanently affixed. With nails, they're not. Okay, well, nails put a house together. So there can be arguments made. We just had one. This is literally today. I
yeah.
got a call from a buyer, and it was not my buyer. They're working with another agent,
hmm
and they were upset because their agent's not sticking. This is the buyer's pitch.
Of course.
They're not sticking up for me. And there was a chicken coop. We bought the place because I had the chicken coop, and there's a cement pad, and this chicken coop was nailed to the wooden beams underground that were cemented in, and they took the whole coop stating it was personal property and it was not listed in the agreement.
Mm,
And so we had a discussion about that. So what I try to tell all my clients, buyers and sellers, if there's anything questionable,
mhm.
maybe it's personal property, maybe it's not, who cares what the judge says? Let's make sure we dictate that in the offer. This stays, this does not stay. Now there's no question.
No problem.
And I think that's the best way to do that.
Because I mean, you got what pre-suit mediation with each side bearing its own legal fees up to that point,
Yeah,
and then after that you get prevailing party attorney's fees. So fighting over a chicken coop, which is maybe a few $1,000s, or fighting over a
absolutely.
washer dryer, a couple grand here and there, it's like, don't get attorneys involved. I mean, that's just ridiculous. You're just piss. I mean, I give them always get their options. One, you do nothing and just let it go. Option two, you try and litigate it yourself, or option three, you hire an attorney or whatever. And it's like, is it really worth, but
Yeah.
that's why doing the due diligence up front, clarifying and verifying, which we talked about Tony Robbins and stuff, that's a huge part of it. Clarify and verify everything through that offer. Make sure that's a huge wisdom point. It's like, I don't know, that may be a fixture, maybe that's personal property, maybe that's something else or whatever. And now because you really detailed it and didn't just phone it in with the offer, then there's no question about it later.
Yeah. I've got a question, maybe two for you.
Sure.
The
Shoot.
term specific performance, that's not a real estate only term. That's with any contractual. Okay.
Yep.
Um, and with so have you ever, I know what it is, and I have certainly threatened it on my client's behalf several times. I've never seen it actually come to fruition. I've
Yeah.
never seen it fail. I've never seen it actually go to court. And I'll talk about it in a little bit, but have you ever taken one to court?
It got mediated, settled. The most recent one that I can think about. I mean, again, the expenses of been getting attorneys involved, it gets just
Yeah.
nuts real quick. I mean, even divorces. The divorces we do can get nuts so real quick. And it's like, so I mean, specific performance cases. I mean, yeah, I haven't seen one go to verdict, but I mean, it's usually because the FAR bar contract is so well written. You know, I really haven't seen a position where one party where there was really kind of a mix on there. I think that you get there, but the last time I've seen it, it settled out pretty quickly. No specific performance isn't just a real estate. Someone's supposed to bring you oil drums on a tanker, and they decide not to. It's the same thing. You can require
Yeah.
them to do so. So no, it's just a remedy, particularly obviously for the buyers, to make sure that the seller sells.
Yeah. I've seen it multiple times. I mean, I would guess I've sold 700 homes, and I would guess we've discussed the phrase specific performance maybe half a dozen times. So
Yeah.
it doesn't happen often. That's about 1%. And that's probably pretty accurate.
Yep.
But it's usually someone, I don't even know if I would say any of them are gray. They're all one person just saying, I changed my mind.
Yep.
And they don't have any contingencies to
Nope.
save them.
No justification.
Yeah. And they're like, well, take me to court. Good luck. I'm gonna fight you and I got money. And you know, you don't know, or in half the time you don't care.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's specific performance. And just I'll state what specific performance is. You're the attorney. You correct me if I'm wrong, but specific performance states that if you are contractually bound to something and you don't, you have to do it. And if you don't do it, you can be sued and forced to do it in a lot of cases.
Yeah. I mean, that's again, that you really the buyer. I mean, the seller's remedy is obviously trying to keep the deposit, you know, going after damages, et cetera, et cetera. But particularly with real estate, which is so unique and alienable and everything else like that, I mean, you're dealing with a piece of property that this person really wanted. So you're forced to do that. So that's definitely a remedy that's on the table. But yeah, I'm glad you haven't had to experience it very often because that gets nasty quick.
I'd prefer to keep that way, but we'll see what happens. I got a couple years left here.
Yeah, I'm sure you'll be selling another. Hopefully, this is just 10%. You got another 6,000, 7,000 homes or so. Yeah.
Now we're talking. I like it. Whose dog is in the background?
Yeah. Whose dog is okay? So today is Halloween. So we had a dog day here on Halloween. So and we do so we in addition to doing divorce, real estate, probate, estate planning, accident cases, we also do anti-human trafficking work. And so we're supporting we do litigation, we do lawsuits against traffickers, but then we also support, you know, nonprofits. You know, and so one of the things we do is like, you know, bring your dog to work day, here's $5 towards this nonprofit that fights trafficking. So you're kind of it's a
That's awesome.
costume day slash you know, fundraising slash dog day. So
That is really cool.
thank
That
you.
is really cool, man. I'll tell you, in the last couple of years, I've really, probably because I got little girls and because it's just kind of come to light in a lot of different ways politically, but human trafficking is just such a big deal. It's awesome to see someone locally here putting time and effort into it. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. It's a calling. I mean, it's a tough situation. It's not easy to hear the stories. And honestly, you question sometimes humanity and what people will do to other people. But I mean, you saw that also in the military when you were at war. I mean, you know, seeing what one person can do to another person, it's pretty insane. But yeah,
Yeah.
but no, it's the good fight. I think it's the best fight that I've
It's an
done
amazing fight.
17 years. So thank you. I appreciate that. That's
Yeah.
I really appreciate that. But yeah, no. Yeah, did you say you had another question or
No, it was the two specific performance questions. Now I can't talk.
oh good. Well, I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. We're so, you know, you do such great work. Like I said, you get such a positive message out there. You built such a great team. You got what almost 60 people working on your downline, and you're just selling homes, and you just got such a great way of doing things. I'm so grateful for your friendship. I think you're just an awesome dude, and keep up the good work, man.
I appreciate it. I see we got 2 minutes left. Can I ask you one final question?
Let's give it a go.
What are the bottles underneath your globe there?
What are the bottles? Okay, so these are all gifts from my team.
I love that.
So they honestly, I don't know. I think one of them has been unsealed, but one is McFarland's Reserve.
Yes. Okay.
And then good old Jack, Bonded. So you got
All
that.
right.
And this is an Irish. This is a Whistler. So
Oh, look at that. Okay.
these are all good. Yeah, are you still? I mean, I know you got rid of your bourbon collection, but are you still drinking other things or?
No, I I'll have a little vodka soda.
Yeah.
But no, I just kind of cut it all out of there. The fun thing about bourbon is not just the drinking, it's that this one's a little bit different because of this. And like you can get nerdy about it, you know?
Totally nerd out on bourbon.
Yeah, and I can't do scotch. I think scotch is absolutely horrible. But scotch is kind of the same way, right? There's so many different things
Yeah,
that you can do with it.
single malts will go crazy and stuff, but no, yeah, I mean, it's tough because the next day, I mean, it's we're in our 40s or whatever, but you know, it's like it's not quite the same as it was 20 years ago, and you want to go
No,
rock it the next morning, So
exactly.
I want to make sure
Yeah,
I got my best game face on for my clients, and oftentimes it doesn't involve the bourbon, at least during the
that's
week.
right. Yeah, that's right. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for inviting me on, and everything you said about me, man. I could say it twice back to you. You're a phenomenal man. You got a phenomenal heart, and it's exciting to see what you're doing.
Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah. All
Good
right.
night.
Take care.
You have a good night.
Adios.